everyone, Namaskar, I'm Asa Sharma and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about photo editing in Adobe Lightroom CC app. So recently I uploaded a picture of bougainvillea flowers on my Instagram stories and I got a lot of requests regarding how I edited the picture and how I added the doodles in the picture. So I thought, why not do a series of videos where I'm going to be tackling photo editing in Adobe Lightroom CC app. So as a photographer, I get questions almost regularly about my editing process, like how do I edit my pictures and what do I use to edit my pictures. So I use Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop, two of the most powerful photo editing softwares out there. So I use those to edit my pictures. But for all the non-photographers, it can be a bit daunting to use those two softwares because you do need a little bit of a technical knowledge to use those two softwares. So I thought, why not take the easy route and show you how to edit pictures in Adobe Lightroom CC app. It is a free app and it's probably one of the best photo editing apps out there. You can do so many things with it. You can do some amazing color grading, make a preset, and then you can just apply it to all your pictures so that you can get that perfect Instagram feed. But I have found out that a lot of people find the app a little bit daunting as well. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there is a bit of technicality to use the app. You do need a little bit of technical knowledge to use that app. So in today's video, I'll be giving you a brief tutorial on how to use the app, at the same time showing you how I edit my pictures, how I color grade my pictures in the app. So if you're interested, then just keep on watching. So the first thing you're going to do is open your Lightroom app, and this is the first screen that will open up into. You're going to go to all photos, and here are all the pictures that you've imported will be here. I've actually clicked some flat lays today, so these are the pictures that I've already imported. To import, all you have to do is click on this icon, and then it's going to open up in the device folders section. It can open up in the time section as well, but I personally like my device folders because then I know exactly where my images are going to be. And then I'm going to quickly select the photos that I'm going to be importing in. So I will select this one, this, and maybe this. Okay, so after they are imported, these are the pictures. They'll get imported on your screen, and it can be something like this, and then you just tap on the image that you want to edit. So the first thing that I want to do is go to the crop section, and firstly I'm just gonna straighten this picture up. As you can see, it's not straight, so I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna fix that. So I think this is looking pretty straight. I'm gonna go and click on the right sign, and then again going to the crop. And because I'm going to be uploading this picture in our Instagram stories, and Instagram story ratio is 9:16, so I'm just going to crop it in that 9:16 ratio so that our picture is nicely cropped and ready to upload in the Instagram story. And now I'm going to go to the light section, and this is where you're going to do your basic adjustments. So I'm going to go to the curve. So before I do any adjustments, I like to go to the curve section, and I'm going to go do my curve. So first thing you want to do is just put like 3 points, and the basic fundamental step to like edit in the curve section is basically you're going to mimic the S alphabet. So the alphabet S is what you're going to be mimicking with your curves. So something like this, right? So this is, as you can see, is kind of like an S shaped curve that I've got, but this is of course I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna slightly crush the whites and the blacks. So this is how you're gonna crush your whites. If you bring this point down, I'm gonna slightly crush them, not too much, and this is how you're gonna crush your blacks if you take this point up. I'm again not gonna crush the blacks too much, but this, I like this because it gives kind of like this film effect. So I like this, and I'm not gonna go too crazy with the contrast. This is where you basically are gonna be with all your shadows and your contrast, you're gonna be controlling with this point. So I'm not gonna go, like I said, too crazy with it, but maybe this much is okay. This is your mid-tones, like your general mid-tones, and with this you control the exposure of your image, the overall exposure of your image. So I'm just gonna like this much is fine. And this is your highlights. So I'm actually not going too crazy with the highlights as well. So something like this I think is okay. I'm still not happy with the contrast. I think something like like this. Yeah, I think I'm okay. So you're gonna go and create done, and this is the before and this is the after. You can just find the before and after by just tapping on the image and holding it. So you get your before, you release your finger, and then you're gonna get your after. In the colors, you can also do some basic color grading with your red. You know, if you decrease this point, then you're gonna get like tealish blue, and if you increase it, you're gonna get red. This is all about it's all about like the colors, so you have to know the color wheel. So complementary colors is what is. So red, the complementary color of red is blue, so you're gonna get this really bluish tone. If you increase it, you're gonna be getting the red tone. I'm not gonna be doing anything of that. Again, with green, complementary of green is pink, so you're gonna get this pink one, and if you increase it, you're gonna get more green. And again, complementary of blue is again a bit yellow, and then increasing it will increase the blue tones. I generally don't like to do anything. I like to do my color grading with the HSL sliders, which I'll be showing you in a minute. But with your white, you can do like your basic adjustments and something like this. Okay, I'm fine with it. All right, with the exposure, I think it's a pretty nice exposed image. So I'm just gonna like teensily increase the exposure. I'm actually gonna be decreasing the contrast because I'm not too crazy with the contrast. Something -18 is fine. And then with the highlights, I am gonna bring down the highlights all the way to -100. And by doing this, as you can see, if you see the image very carefully, look at the sky. As I'm decreasing the highlights, I'm getting those details back in the sky. As you can see, I'm getting a little bit of clouds into the sky, which we're going to be fixing it in the in the later HSL sliders. But so as I'm decreasing the highlights, I'm getting more details in the sky, which I really like. Because this picture has been clicked in with my phone. With phone, you don't really have that much of control over your over your settings and everything, about overexposure and highlights and everything. So that is why the sky is a bit blown out, which I have fixed it with the highlights section. I'm also losing highlights in the petals of the flowers and the overall image of it, but we're gonna fix that later, which I'll show you. Shadows, I'm gonna slightly increase the shadows again to get out a bit of a details in it, but not too much. I'm not gonna go too crazy with it. I think 18 is fine. Whites, again, if you increase the whites, we're basically gonna be losing the detail that we have that we've gotten by decreasing the highlights. So I'm now gonna increase the whites as well. Actually, I'm gonna decrease the whites a little bit. -10 is fine. And then with the blacks, I'm slightly gonna increase the blacks. Just again, not going too crazy with it, but I think 10 is fine. Don't want to go too crazy along with this. And actually now so after I did all the basic adjustments, then I like to toggle between the exposure. So I think I like a little bit more exposure. I think should be fine. I think 30 is good. Okay. And then you're gonna move on to so once you're done with the basic adjustments, this is what I did. As you can see, not too crazy. I'm just completely decrease the highlights, but that is it. And this is the before, this is the after. So this is the before and after. Then you're gonna move on to this color section, and this is where the fun begins. Okay, so firstly with the temperature, again, I don't like to toggle between temperature as well. If you like more of a cool tone, if you like more of a warm tone, you can definitely do it with this, but again, don't go too crazy with it, otherwise it's not a very pretty picture. But I think -1, I like a little bit of a cool tone of this image, because I think it's a bit too warm for me. So I think -2 is fine. Tint, let's see. Ooh, I'm actually liking the tint. Okay, so obviously you want, my main subject of these pictures are the flowers, the petals. So you want them to pop from your background. So I'm actually liking the effect of increasing the tint. So I think 8 is fine, so that I'm getting more of a vibrant pink color. With the vibrance, now this is something that I like to do. I like to increase the vibrance, and I'm going to decrease the saturation to -8, increasing the vibrance to 10. And this is something that I like to do because laterwards I'm going to be increasing the clarity of the image, because you're going to be uploading pictures in your social media. So if you increase the clarity, you do lose a little bit of color vibrance in your image. So that, just to sort of balance that out, I like to increase the vibrance and at the same time decreasing the saturation of the colors if some colors are getting too vibrant, because by increasing their vibrance. So that is something that I like to do, just to balance out the clarity, because I'm going to be increasing the clarity to about like 10 or 12. So just to sort of balance that out, I like to increase my vibrance and decrease the saturation. So 10 minus 8 is something that I like to do. Again, here as you can see, not going too crazy with it, but this is what our basic like color tones that we've done. And now you're gonna go to mix. BMW is basically black and white, so if you want your pictures to be black and white, this is where you're gonna be editing it. I'm not gonna touch that out, but you're gonna go to the mix section, and this is where you're gonna do your major color manipulation. Okay, so first of all, it's going to open up in the red section. So hue, saturation, luminance, or we like to call it HSL sliders. So H stands for hue, which is basically going to be determining what shade, like what tone your color is going to be. So if I decrease the hue, let's say to minus 100, your reds are going to be more of a pinky tone to it. Okay, and if I increase the hue, then your reds are going to be more of a yellow tone to it. Now, since this picture doesn't have that much of red to it, you can see the green is like the the major color. So let's just go to the green so that I can explain you properly, and then you'll be able to see like the hue, saturation, luminance on the green. So like I said, hue changes the tone of your color. So if I decrease the hue, then my greens, as you can see, are going to be much more of a yellowy tone. And if I increase the hue to, let's say, about plus 100, then my greens are going to be much more of a tealish tone to it. Okay, tealish tone. So whichever, so it depends what you like and what color you want. Now, if you guys have been following me on Instagram, you guys know that I love my greens to be on the tealish side, and they are completely desaturated. Not completely, but a little bit desaturated greens. That's something that I like. That's my color grading. Now, obviously, you can go ahead with your own color grading. You can create that. That's what photo editing is all about. You're going to create your own color palette, and that's what you're going to be following if you want to maintain like a cohesive Instagram feed. I like my green to be a bit more tealish, so I think at around 32 should be fine. Yeah, we can go crazy a bit. 34, fine. That's fine. I'm happy with it. The saturation is basically going to be the intensity of your color. So if I increase the saturation, so you can see the green has become very, very intense, right? And if I decrease the saturation, then the intensity of that green is going to be very, very low. So you're basically going to be removing the color green from the image. So that's how much of a control you have using this HSL slider. So like I said, this is the game changer, and this is why I think Adobe Lightroom, like, you have so much of power and so much of control over your image if you use Adobe Lightroom app. Similarly with the software as well. So I'm not going like completely desaturated because this is a garden, so you don't want like a barren, this looks like a barren land which has no color whatsoever. But so I'm not gonna go too crazy with it, but something around like 50, I think. Yeah, 50 is looking, I think is looking good. So about like, well, let's go 60, chalo. 59, 60s, I think I'm quite happy. We can go a little bit more color is good. So 53 I think is looking great so far. And the luminance is basically how light or how dark your color is going to be. So if I increase the luminance, so your color is going to be very, very light. As you can see, there's a lot of a light in the greens. And if I decrease the luminance, as you can see, the color has become very, very dark. So I am not gonna go too crazy with the luminance because again it looks like a dark land. But I'm not gonna be losing any more highlights. So I think around 25 is looking, yeah, it's looking fine. Okay, so with the greens done, I'm just gonna go and quickly do a little bit of color grading on the reds. So I want my reds to be more in the pinkish tone, because I think there's a little bit of red in the flower petals, and I want them to be pink. I want them to be very vibrant pink, so I'm just gonna put it in -8. Saturation, I'm actually you cannot see a lot with it, but I'm gonna increase the saturation because like I said, I want my vibrant pink color. With the luminance, let's just increase the luminance. Yeah, okay. Orange, again, there is not much orange in the image. Whatever orange there is, I'm just going to keep the hue at -27, decrease the saturation to about 18, and also decrease the luminance, let's just say, because there is no green, so you cannot really see that. Yellows, now there is a little bit of yellow in the green, as you can see, so I'm going to actually keep the yellows into more of the orangey tone. I just like this, so it gives me that kind of like this orange and teal look to it, which I really, really like. So I'm going to keep the hue to about 26. Saturation, I'm going to be decreasing the saturation again, not too much, but I think 26 is fine. And luminance, I'm actually going to be increasing the luminance of the yellow. I just like it to be a bit more lighter. Okay, greens, we've already done with it. Greens, aquas, I mean, there is not much aqua in the image, so I'm just going to skip that. And blue. Now, before when we did our basic adjustments, I told you that I just completely decreased the highlights because I wanted to bring back the details in the sky. Now I'm going to bring back the color of the sky because we don't want like a you know, overexposed and like a dull sky, right? Whenever we're painting, we're always painting the sky as blue, and that's how we like our sky to be. So I'm just going to decrease the hue, and you can already see the sky is kind of becoming this beautiful teal blue color. It's not very you know, prominent, but I'm going to be increasing the saturation, and there you go. Can you see that? That is what I'm talking about. I think with the aquas, I think we can make it a bit more teal as well, and there it is. As you can see, the sky has become beautiful blue, which is, I mean, that is exactly what we want. You can go a bit crazy with it, that's fine. I mean, the blue is not very prominent in the image, so you can go a bit crazy with it, but yeah, as you can see, the color of the sky is much nicer now. You can see a little bit of details, a little bit of clouds in there as well. So yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. Again, do not increase the luminance because, you know, again, you could be losing the detail and the color if you increase the luminance, which we have so, you know, we've worked so hard to bring those details back. So I'm going to be decreasing the luminance so that the sky is a bit more you know, bit more blue, and we have all the details, as you can see. So you can see that there's a huge difference from what we started with, and now look at the sky. It's looking beautiful. There are clouds, there are details, there is a beautiful blue tealish color to the sky, so that is great. And now we're going to move on to the purples, and again, like I said before, with the basic adjustments, I decreased the highlights all the way down. As a result, we lost the highlights in the petals of the flowers, which we're going to be bringing back using the purples and the magentas. Purples and the magentas are basically in the flower petals, as you can see. So if I decrease the hue, that doesn't look good at all. It looks like the flowers are poisoned or something like that. So I'm going to be increasing the hue, and as you can see, ooh, there it is. As you can see, this is looking pretty dang good. Saturation, I'm going to be increasing the saturation just a touch. Again, like I said, this is our subject. You know, we're doing our main editing on our subject, so I want my subject to pop from the background. So I think 16, 14 should be okay. And now I'm going to be increasing the luminance, and there you can see. Can you see that? We are bringing back those highlights that we lost when we decreased our highlights, like the altogether highlights of our image in the basic adjustment section. So by 16, again, not going too crazy with it because then otherwise we will lose detail in the flower petals. So I think 14 should be fine. And then going to the magentas, again, I want my hue to be slightly in the pinky, not again in the purpley tone, but more in the like a pinky reddish tone. I was about to say reddy, but yeah, pinky. This is looking, I think, pretty dang good. Again, I'm going to be increasing the saturation because I want that beautiful pink color. And then again, I'm going to be increasing the luminance so that we have our highlights back in our flower petals. As you can see, this is looking pretty dang good. So if I press done, and I'm going to show you the before, and look at that, this is our after. So before, if you notice the sky, and after, and the greens are definitely much better now. This is basically what I like to do with my color grading. This is like my basic, very basic color grading, exactly what I do in my Lightroom software. This is the color color scheme that I follow all throughout my images. Alright, next thing, you're going to go to the effects section. So there is this thing called split toning. So this is basically if you want a specific color in your highlights and in your shadows. So if you take this ball and if you take it to any color, so here it's more pinkish, here it's more blue, and you can obviously control the saturation how much you want. So as you can see in the above, it's saying hue 50, saturation is 19. Again, if you're decreasing it, it becomes 4. So this is how you can again do some fun color grading to it. I personally don't like to do this because I feel like I don't have that much of control over this. I like my color grading, doing my color grading in HSL sliders. I think I have much more control over the image then. So yeah, I don't like to do split toning. You can obviously come up with some really fun color schemes or color palettes using highlights and saturation using split toning. I personally don't like to do it. Texture, it's not very necessary, but like I said, clarity, I'm going to be increasing my clarity to about like 10. I think it's fine. Dehaze, if you want to dehaze the image, this is basically great if you want to create some nice vintage presets to it. I actually like to do this in my vintage presets. Here I'm not going to do it. Vignette, you can add a bit of a vignette. So this is basically adding this black border, as you can see. So if you increase it, it's becoming white. If you decrease it, it's becoming black. Again, great if you're doing some nice vintage, edits. Here I can add a little bit of vignette so that our focus mainly goes into our main subjects. So maybe like -8 is fine. I don't want it to be very prominent. And this is midpoint, feather, and roundness is basically all the vignette controls that you can do. I don't like to do it. I'm happy with my shape. And then you can obviously add your grain if you like, adding grain. I am now going to be adding grain. And that is your effects panel. And then I'm going to move on to the detail, and this is something that I like to do. So I like to sharpen my image. Again, not going too crazy with it. I think 35 should be fine. So this is the sharpening that I like to do, and I'm going to be masking. I'm going to be using the masking tool as well, because you don't want the sharpening to go everywhere. So then you mask it so that the sharpening goes into some specific parts of the image, mostly in your subject. So that is what I want. I want my sharpness to be in my subject. So that is why I mask it to about like 70, 69, 70 is fine. And then if there is any noise in my image, I like to do this. I like to increase the noise reduction. And this is, I feel like, is such an amazing feature, because then, can you see the buttery, soft, like the texture and the quality of the image has become so much nicer when you increase the noise reduction. So and the same thing I like to do with the color noise reduction as well. So any noise, if there is any noise, is basically grain. So if there is any sort of grain in your image, it's just gonna completely remove that. So I really like look how sharp the image has become. I mean, it has become very, very sharp, isn't it? So I love doing that. Details and smoothness, I'm just gonna keep it the way it is. And then I'm going to move on to the optics, and I like to do this remove chromatic aberration. So if there's any sort of color, some form of color deformity in the image, it's going to remove any sort of those deformity. And then this is your lens profile correction. So this basically you use it if you're clicking the picture with a specific a camera. So if you switch it on, you're gonna go to manually select a profile, and here you basically need any sort of model. So if there's any, so there's Apple, Canon, GoPro, Google, there's Nikon, Samsung, Sony. I don't have my model here. So basically lens profile corrections, what it does is that if there's any sort of distortion, by using some camera lenses there is some distortion, so it basically will remove any sort of distortions that you'll find in your image. This generally happens if you're using a nice DSLR and it has a lens. So lens does form some distortion in the image. So it's basically going to be decreasing, it's going to be removing all that distortion. This is, since it's it's a phone clicked image, I don't like to do any sort of profile correction in here. And there it is. That is your main image. You can tap on it and you can view the full thing. As you can see, this is the whole image. And if you like your editing like I do, so you can always create your preset. You're going to go to this, click on these 3 dots together, and there you'll already have create preset, and then it's basically going to be selecting everything, not the crop section and everything. And then you can just name it anything you want. I'm just gonna go and name it as Breezy, which is basically the name of the preset that I use in all of my photos. And then you're gonna go to the right side, and there it is basically gonna be creating your preset, and there you go. That is your main editing section. So I'm just gonna show you the final before and after. So this is your before and this is your after. So this is it. Now let's just see if we can edit some portraits as well. So when I'm editing portraits, my main focus is always gonna be my subject's skin tone. That is based on what I do my edit. So if my subject skin tone is not looking good in an image, I probably will change my edit. So I always edit them according to my subject's skin tone. So I'm very, very, I'm very like skeptical about that. Like, I don't like if some photographers just, edit the pictures really nicely, but then the skin tone of the subject is just looking very bland or something like that. I want my rich, beautiful skin tone of my subject. So that is how I basically do it. Now obviously you have created your preset, so I can create my preset. You can go and go to user presets, and if I tap it here, obviously I think it won't look good at all. Yeah, it's not looking good. It's too warm for me. I don't know, it's just not looking good. So I'm gonna edit them quickly. Here I'm not going to be doing any sort of crop or something like that. I think the picture is pretty straight. I think it's not that straight. I think it's straight for me so far. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I can straighten that, I think, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit is fine. Okay, I think that much is okay. Let's go to the light section, go to the curves, 3 points. Do like a bit of contrast in my portraits, I think. Yeah, so this is actually looking pretty good. Wow, that was a one-time thingy. Exposure, let's just leave it there. Contrast, I have already done, added the contrast. Highlights, I like to decrease the highlights. Let's see if this is making any difference. Okay, I think we're getting much more details in the Mechalassador, so I'm just going to be decreasing the details. Decreasing the highlights, increasing the shadows, definitely. Yeah, I think this much is fine. Whites, if I decrease the whites, I'm actually losing the white in the Mechalassador, which I don't like. I want the beautiful white Mechalassador to pop. So I think in this case, I'm actually going to be increasing the whites a little bit. I think, again, not going too crazy with it. And blacks, I'm going to be increasing the blacks for sure. Increasing the shadows and blacks basically ensures that if there is any sort of shadows or any sort of dark circles in your subject's face, or if there is any if the light is not even, then this is basically going to be making sure that it's going to remove any sort of those shadows and dark circles and those light deformities from your subject's skin tone. So I really like doing that. Okay, and then I think I can increase the exposure just a touch. I think this is looking, so far it's looking fine. Temperature, I think this is too warm for me, so let me just decrease the temperature just a little bit. I think -2 is fine. Tint, I'm not gonna actually touch. Yeah, -2 is fine. Tint, I'm not gonna touch. Vibrance, again, I'm gonna be increasing the vibrance, decreasing the saturation. Let's go to the mix. First thing, I'm gonna go and change my greens, because this is sort of, it's sort of begging me to like change that. And then with the yellows, I'm going to be doing again. Now with the yellows, since as you can see there are yellows in their Mechalassador, so don't go too crazy with the saturation, otherwise you're going to be losing the color in the beautiful Mechalassador that they're wearing. So I'm actually going to be not going too much with the yellows. Desaturation of the yellows. Luminance, let's just decrease the luminance a little bit. Yeah, because I want the details of the Mechalassador to sort of pop. Orange, now this is where you're going to be controlling the skin tone of your image. If you decrease the orange, as you can see, not at all pretty. If you increase it, definitely not. Now this is, again, it's a personal preference. If you like a much more of a pinky tone or like a nice rich skin tone, then you can decrease the hue. Or if you like more of a yellowy tone in your subject skin tone, you can increase the hue. I like my pinky tone rich skin tone, so I think around -8. I think in all of their skin tone is looking pretty good. So I'm actually going to be doing that and decreasing the saturation just a touch again. And this, I like to do this a lot, so I like to increase the luminance, not too much. I think I went a bit crazy, but yeah, increasing the luminance actually brings that beautiful glow in your subject skin tone. As you can see, can you see that? This is obviously too much, and decreasing them, it just makes them that is not a pretty look. But yeah, I think just a little bit of luminance, it just brings back that beautiful glow in your subject's skin tone, which just looks so nice. So this is something that I like to do a lot. And then with the reds, I don't think there is much red in the image, so I'm just going to skip the reds. With the blues, again, there are no blues in the image. There's barely any blue in the image. There's a little bit. I'm going to skip that as well. Purples and magentas, I'm going to skip that as well. But whatever magenta is there, I'm just going to do this like, yeah, something like that. So basically, it's your greens, yellows, and oranges is where your basic thing is going to happen. And I'm really loving how this turned out. As you can see, this is the before, this is the after. Can you see the skin tone? I mean, they're looking so much more richer and like brighter. You know, I love the color as well. So yeah, this is something that I love to do a lot, and I'm gonna go and press done, and then I'm just gonna go and quickly increase the clarity because I am gonna be, you know, and I'm not gonna touch any of the other part as well. Not gonna go to the split toning as well. And then obviously I need to sharpen my image, so about, let's just go a bit crazy with this today. I'm gonna mask it because I want the sharpness to be just in our subject's face. And then obviously noise reduction. I'm going a bit crazy, but yeah. Alright, so and then here now we can manually select a profile here because we're gonna you know, because I have clicked this with my camera, which is my Nikon, so Nikon AF Nikkor 50mm 1.8 lens, which is exactly what I clicked with. You're gonna press right sign and basically gonna be removing any kind of lens distortion that is gonna be in the image. And there you go. As you can see, this is your before, this is your after. I love this image. I absolutely love this image. I'm actually going to be cropping this image just a little bit because I think this part is sort of distracting. So just a little bit of crop. I think, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Now I think the, you know, the eye is going to go straight towards our subject. So there we go. Yeah, I actually like this a lot. So this is your before, this is the after. As you can see, before and after, before and after. And this is how I like to do my subjects, you know, skin tone. And this one I'm gonna go and I'm gonna call it like, let's go call it as skinny. Breezy and skinny. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And then let's open up this image as well. So this is another portrait that I'm gonna be, so let's see if our preset actually works or not. So we're gonna go to the skinny preset, and obviously one click of the preset is not gonna be, you know, you're gonna have to do some form of, you know, adjustments after you've applied the preset. So with this, I'm actually loving the color grading. The color grading looks pretty dang good, but again, her skin tone doesn't look great for me. So I'm gonna be increasing the exposure because it's a bit underexposed for me as well. And then we're gonna go into the temperature section and actually gonna be decreasing the temperature because it's a bit warm for me. And with the oranges, again, like I said, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna decrease the hue, and that's gonna remove any sort of yellowy tone that there is in her image. This time actually I can completely desaturate the yellows because there is no yellow in her outfit. So I can just go and decrease the yellow and decrease the luminance of the yellow as well. Actually, let me just, oh yeah, increasing the luminance of yellows actually is looking pretty dang good. So if you, can you see, if you know, notice her, you know, the her one side of the image, one side of her face, if I decrease the luminance, there's a bit of a shadow in her face, if you can see, but if I'm increasing it, I'm getting rid of that shadow. So this is how basically I do all my editing. My main focus is on the face of the subject, and that's how I do my entire editing. So this is actually looking pretty dang good. I'm actually really loving this. I'm gonna go and increase the luminance of the orange so that I get much more of that brighter skin tone. So I think 18 so far is looking pretty good. So yeah, I'm actually really liking this. But there's one thing that I like to do is I'm gonna go and increase the saturation of the red, because the, you know, the reds in the background are looking actually really nice, and so if they pop up, I think will make it will be really pretty. I think the hue, I'm just gonna make it a bit more of the orangey tone to it. I think 9 is looking, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And the saturation, it just makes it look so good. And I'm gonna decrease the luminance, and then it becomes much more darker so that they're just gonna pop up more. And I'm actually liking this a lot. So this is the before, this is the after. So before and after, before and after. I mean, I love this. There's much more brighter. I love her skin. I love how her skin is looking. And there it is. And then let's just open our final image, which is this one. And now obviously you can add the preset, but if I kind of like how I did the you know, editing in my, you know, previous photo. So you can just go to previous, and if you put the all, so it's basically going to be bringing up all the edits that you've done here. So with this, I like it, but I think I find now here the red is like too much red, like it's in your face red. So let's just change the reds, definitely decreasing the saturation, not too much, I think, and increasing the luminance. Should I increase the luminance? I think yeah, I think the increasing the luminance is looking much more nicer on her skin tone. Hue, I think, is looking good. 7 is fine. And saturation, I think -5. Too much is, as you can see, if I'm decreasing it too much, it's just not looking good. If I'm increasing the red too much, again, it's not looking good. So I think about -3. Let's just go with -1. Yeah, I think it's so far the red is looking good. Okay. Let's go to the orange and let's see here. Now if I think it's too much pink. I feel like her skin is too much pink from the before image, so I'm actually going to go and making it a bit more of a, yeah, I think I'm liking this. -5 is looking good, and I think the luminance and the saturation is so far. I think I can go and even increase the luminance furthermore. I think that's how it's, her skin is looking just really, really good. So I think about 19 is good. Yeah, so far. Yeah, this is great. I like this a lot. Let's just go and see if there is any magenta. There's not much magenta, but I'm just gonna leave it there. So yeah, this is, I think, looking, yeah, this is looking really, really good. So I'm liking this a lot. Basic adjustments, let me just see if I increase the shadows. There's a teensy bit of shadow in her face, which I think, yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. I don't think a little bit of skin retouching, a little bit more working on the skin, I think will look really, really nice. And one of our eyelashes has come out, so obviously fixing that in Photoshop is going to be the next step. But yeah, with the color grading, I'm really, really happy with the color grading. This is how basically I color grade all my images. So this is all my Lightroom settings that I do. I think this image is, I feel like it's too much, it's too exposed for me now. So, and this happens all the time, like, you're now gonna get like a perfect, you're gonna go back and forth. So yeah, I think now this is looking pretty good. And just to export the image, all you have to do is just select all of them, go to this triangle-y thingy, and just go to save the device, and then it's gonna be exporting all your pictures. So in your gallery, you'll have a Lightroom folder itself, where all your pictures are going to be exported. It's going to take a bit of a time, but it's absolutely worth it. I love using Lightroom because you get so much of control over your image. You can do some amazing color grading to it, and create your own customized preset, and then you can just add it to all your pictures, and it's just going to be very unique. And you can also create a very cohesive Instagram feed. So yeah, this was all about my color grading in Adobe Lightroom CC app. Alright, that was the video. I hope you guys like it. If you do like it, then don't forget to comment, share, and consider subscribing if you like these kind of photography related videos. Till then, keep on finding sites, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.